And I have this big old map of the U.S. up, and I asked you what you know about wolves and coyotes, and many of you, in terms of scientific names, said, no, I don't know. Things you know about wolves: they look like dogs, they travel in packs, near the top of the food chain, very strong. Dog-like animals that live in the wild but not in America. Resemble a large dog, they're a wild species, bork bork. Top predators in the food chain beyond humans. I don't know anything, not very common, different kinds, travel in packs. The original dogs eat meat, like dogs, bears and coyotes, live in the wild, can howl, carnivorous, almost like a dog, like to hunt, active at night, sometimes during the day, travel in packs, eat meat, predators, rabbits and small mammals, wild animals, wild, bigger teeth, carnivores, predators, hunt in packs, fur, teeth, legs, predator, eat meat, bigger than coyotes, eat meat, live in select states in most of Canada, travel in packs, resemble dogs, more active at dusk. Okay, so that's what you know about wolves. You have a lot of good information there. A few things that we're going to touch up on, but largely good information. Tell me everything you know about coyotes. Look like dogs, smaller than wolves, also near the top of the food chain, very strong and intelligent. Dog-like animals, live in the wild, travel in packs, resemble a dog, smaller than wolves, related to wolves, carnivores, eat food. Yes, everybody eats food. I know nothing. They are very common, travel in packs. Wild dogs eat meat, smaller than wolves, live in the wild, similar to wolves. Coyotes are like wolves. Coyotes are similar to wolves, question mark. They have good hearing, I believe, same family as wolves, travel in packs, get prey to follow back to the herd, then attack it. Like to yap and chatter. Wild animals, wild, smaller than wolves, more used to humans, smaller predators, hunt in packs. Four legs, fur, teeth, predator, eat meat. Have packs, eat meat, sharp teeth, rarely attack humans, more active dawn and dusk, eat meat. Okay, cool. You know some stuff. So, let me put up a couple of pictures. Pictures. So, raise your hand if you believe that that is a wolf. Your options are going to be wolf, coyote, dog, I don't know.
Awesome.
Raise your hand if you say wolf. Raise your hand if you say coyote. Oh, you guys are good. And nobody's in the dog. Nobody's in the don't know. Okay, good. This is in fact a coyote. This is the eastern coyote. Many, many years ago when my grandma was very old and she was living by herself, but my dad checked on her every day. She was in her late 80s. And one day she said, you know, Raymond, there was this funny looking dog on the back porch. I think it chased something up here. And she described the funny looking dog. And my dad said, Mom, that wasn't a dog. There was a coyote on the back porch. And then we found rabbit fur and bones because it had chased something up there and killed it on the back porch. So, great predators of small mammals. This is the eastern coyote. And I'm going to write its common name here. Eastern coyote. No one knew the scientific name. Nobody. Nobody volunteered it. So, but a few people said things that start to hint at it. So remember, scientific names have how many parts? Hold up fingers. Don't yell it out loud. 2, first name, last name. First name is the genus. And that's kind of like your last name because it says who they're related to. So coyotes are Canis latrans. Canis latrans. That is the coyote. And it actually, so Canis refers, have you heard the word canid before, or canine? Yeah. Canis is the genus of dogs. So who here lives with a dog in their house? Okay. Your little, and I don't know if you have a little Fluffy or if you have Spike, or if you have something in the middle there, but the dog that you are living with in your house is in the genus Canis. It's Canis domesticus. It's a domesticated canid. Oh, cool. Now here's the funny part, and I put Canis latrans, the eastern coyote, over here, but who here has never in their life not, if I had asked you when you were 5 years old, are there coyotes in Ohio? How many of you knew that when you were 5 years old? Some of you? Okay. You were 5 years old only 10 or 11 years ago. Huh? Well, in this part, in the general eastern part of the U.S. So I'm a lot older than you. A lot. Let's not get into specifics. When I was a kid, we didn't think there were coyotes in Ohio. We didn't see them. We didn't hear them. They were a western species. Coyotes lived out west. That was where coyotes lived. And, you know, coyote, who here has seen Coyote and Roadrunner? Not a realistic coyote, let's just make that clear. But coyotes were a species of the plains and the deserts of the Southwest. They were in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and Oklahoma. I'm going to reference one more time Laura Ingalls Wilder. Sometime I'll just suck it up and bring it in here. You do probably want to be writing some of this down. Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote stories about her family who traveled from, let me move my coyote here, who traveled from the big woods of Wisconsin to the Oklahoma Territory in 1870-something, built a cabin out in the middle of what was Indian Territory, and subsequently found out they were on the wrong side of the settlement line, and that was land that the government wasn't ready to steal from the Indians just yet. They were going to wait about 15 more years before they stole that part, so they had to move. I'm sorry. Did that sound like we stole the land? We did. But anyway, yes, from the Native Americans. So anyway, Oklahoma wasn't ready to be stolen. They had to wait longer, so they moved. But she talks about seeing coyotes, and they called them prairie wolves. And they were a smaller canid species. Now, they also saw and heard wolves. So out here, back then, there were coyotes and there were wolves. Huh. But I'm going to get rid of my little eastern coyote guy here. Whoops. So that's my little coyote. I'll move him over to the word coyote. Oh, wait, I need to get a picture of a wolf, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
There. That's a wolf. A little bit different. Looks a little bit more robust. The face is slightly different. Other than that, they look a lot alike. I should mention at this point the genus and species for the wolf. Who would care to guess at the genus for wolf? Tell it to people at your table. Don't tell me. Canis! You guys are very clever.
What a shocker.
Canis. Now, it's not latrans. Anybody know? Canis lupus. I do not know what the connection to the disease lupus is. I do not know if or what the connection to the flowers lupines are. I just know that wolves are Canis lupus. So you can see that these guys are in the same genus, different species, which basically we look at that and say, hey, they're closely related. Okay. So back then, and I should color code my ranges. Let's do Canis lupus in orange. And we'll continue to do the coyotes in black. Let me shrink this. So, Canis lupus. Cut. Paste. And we actually probably, if I'm realistic, and I don't have exact range maps, I'm kind of guessing at this, but coyotes would have been found in about that kind of area. And wolves certainly had plenty of overlap. Whoops. Actually, I believe, if we're talking like 1870, that orange is where you found wolves. Yes, that's the whole darn continent. And I'm not counting Alaska or Hawaii because I just can't fit it on my map. So we had coyotes in, most of the western half of the continent, probably up into the Dakotas, but they were definitely a western species. We had wolves in the eastern U.S. So when Laura's family in the 1873, 1874, was traveling in their little wagon from the big woods of Wisconsin to Oklahoma, they were leaving a place with wolves and going to a place with wolves and coyotes. She talks about, literally, this is absolutely bone-chilling. I want you for a moment to imagine this. So they are spending the first night where they're not sleeping in the wagon, in their house, and their house is a log cabin that their father has constructed with help from the whole family, and he hasn't built a door yet. So there's just an open space where the door would be. And their mother has hung a quilt over that, tacked up a quilt over that door. And they have windows, but there's no glass, and they don't have any wood in them. They're just open spaces, and they've hung pieces of fabric over those windows. And Laura talks about waking up in the middle of the night. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this. It is so amazing. Because she hears that Pa is moving. And she's a little girl. She's like 7 or 8 years old, maybe 7. And she creeps across the floor, and she finds Pa sitting by one of those open windows with his rifle across his lap. And when she looks out, she says she saw, and this is a 7-year-old, remember, who had seen lots of wildlife, the biggest wolf she had ever seen in her life. And when she continues to look, she realizes that there is a ring of wolves around the house. And then they start to sing. They don't have a door yet. Pa built the door the next day. They had built a door for the stable because, of course, their livestock and their horses, without them, they're toast. They're done. So they had built doors on the stable, but he hadn't built a door on the house yet. So he was just sitting there with his shotgun, his rifle, actually, watching the wolves sit around the house and then start to sing. It's the kind of thing you would never forget, isn't it? So, yeah, out there in the middle of the country, wolves, coyotes, back here, lots of wolves. Ohio with wolves? Are you kidding me? Yes. Now, not in 1870. So we got to go back a little ways. We said that, so let's say that this is 1790. Is Ohio a state yet? Say yes or no, but don't tell me. Tell your neighbors. Yes. No, 1803. 1803 is statehood for Ohio. So this is pre-statehood. What does Ohio look like in 1790? Huh? It is trees. It is dense, dark, deep forest. It is that forest that early settlers find terrifying and oppressive because you can walk for days and never really be in sunlight. It is deep wilderness. I love the thought of Columbiana County, Ohio as deep wilderness. I love the thought of trees that 6 of you couldn't reach around, and wolves and mountain lions and bears here. Right here. I love that. I think that's amazing. So, 1790, it's wolves and mountain lions and bears and deep dark woods, wilderness, and not a coyote in sight. Because where are the coyotes living?
West.
Out west. They're living out on those open grassy plains. They're not living in deep woods. They're not really a deep woods kind of critter. No thanks. They're little. They sort of hide in the tall grass. Coyotes tend to eat smaller game. So these coyotes would be eating more mice and rabbits and voles. The wolves would probably be eating larger game. The coyotes hunt in usually actually single individuals hunting. The wolves hunt in packs. What am I starting to describe here? They're their niche. I'm starting to describe their niche. Oh, okay. So wolves live in a variety of habitats. They're fairly adaptable. They tend to hunt in packs. That's a hunting behavior. They are predators. They are carnivores. They live in a social group, a pack. They tend to hunt larger game as well as smaller game. Oh, these are components of their niche. They tend to reproduce once or twice a year. These are pieces of their niche. Now, let's talk about those coyotes. Prairie dwellers live in social groups, but it's a smaller social group. So where a wolf pack can be 15, 20, 25 individuals, coyote family groups tend to be much smaller. It tends to be a mated pair and their offspring from 1 or 2 years. So you're seldom going to see a group of more than 5 or 6. They tend to be a smaller family group. They tend to hunt smaller prey. So they don't have to hunt in a pack because it doesn't take a pack of coyotes to take down a mouse or a vole or a prairie dog. They can do that all by themselves, thank you very much. These coyotes, these western coyotes in 1790, are pretty small animals. And I lived out west. That was actually the first place I ever saw coyotes was when I lived in Arizona. You're furrowing your brow, and I'm really happy to see that, because these little western coyotes are small animals. Who here can visualize what a 20-pound dog looks like? Anybody got a 20-pound dog at home? Okay. 20-pound dog, knee-high, kind of skinny. 20-pound dog is typically not all that frightening. A 20-pound dog, you kind of, yeah, skinny little 20-pound dog. Not all that intimidating. Also, not going to take down an elk or a deer. No, your 20-pound dog can kill all the rabbits at once. It's probably not going to take down larger game. It's a 20-pound dog, for God's sakes. 1790, these western coyotes, they're little skinny, scrawny things. They're not all that impressive, honestly. Laura was scared of the wolves. She was not particularly scared of the coyotes. Now, after 1790, what happens in the eastern U.S.? What did we do when we got here? We had those big, big, deep, scary, frightening forests in which you cannot grow a crop. What did we do?
Kill everything.
Cut it all down, killed everything. Woohoo! Go us. So, by 1803, what does Ohio look like?
Farmland.
It's farmland. It's farmland. We cleared the trees, we cut down the trees, we built little towns and villages, and we farmed it all. And by 1860, 1850, I'd have to actually look up dates. We've also killed all the wolves and the bears and the mountain lions. So we've wiped out all of those predators. Farmland, and I'm going to guess, I should have looked up my numbers first. I'm going to guess that by 1830, there are no more predators. 1830, 1850, no more predators. And then we proceed to go ahead and kill all the deer. We extirpate them by, 1900, after we killed off all their predators and we decided we would eat them ourselves. So, has the environment changed? Oh, yeah. Tremendously. So, by 1919, I'll just shrink that. So 1790, big woods, like serious woods with wolves. By 1803, all farmland, no predators, no deer, no woods, very little in the way of woods. By 1920, you know what showed up in Ohio? Coyotes! You're good. Coyotes were sighted in Ohio. Just a few individuals. So remember, we wiped out the wolves. There are no more wolves here now. Wolves' range is now restricted to northern states out west. There are some existing populations at this point in places like Michigan, Minnesota, up into Canada. But we've wiped out wolves in most of this sort of flat, the flat farmlands. They're gone. There are some pockets of wolves down here and in wilderness areas. There are what are called Mexican red wolves, which is a different species than the timber wolf. But for the most part, we've pushed wolves back. But in 1920, coyotes start to show up, and they start showing up in western Ohio. Who here has driven to Sandusky? Cedar Point? God, I hate that drive. It is the most terrible drive that I can imagine. Oh, I hate it. It's flat and stupid.
I like the flat grass.
Oh, you like the flat grass. I hate the flat grass. Give me some hills. Give me some rolling hills. So, western Ohio used to actually have some prairies. Had pocket prairies. Kind of like Kansas, but in miniature. So the first place that coyotes start showing up is western Ohio. Get that out of your mouth. That's a loner. Okay, just checking. Go ahead. They start sort of sneaking in because, hey, guess what? This is all now farmland. what does that farmland look a little bit like? Their grassland prairie home. The environment changes. We basically recreate their niche. Here, is there a job opening? Were there predators in Ohio prior to the 1850s, let's say? Yes. There were wolves and bears and mountain lions, and we killed them all. We got rid of them. If a niche is like a job, there is suddenly a vacancy. Because there really are no predators in the eastern U.S. at that point, at least not in Ohio, not in the Midwest. So coyotes see the job opening as they're reading the wildlife classifieds. That's a joke. There are no wildlife classifieds. You knew that. And they start moving in. And there's nobody to compete with. They're not competing with wolves. Now, are the coyotes adaptable? Yes, they are. Who here has a dog who will eat anything? I do. Avocados, bananas, bell peppers, eggshells, garbage bones, yeah, whatever. You know, not to mention what the neighborhood cat leaves laying around. Ugh. Canids are adaptable. Those coyotes start to move into the niche that's been left vacant. Whose niche are they filling? Wolves. They are filling the niche of the wolves. Now, what's interesting is that two things happen. So number one, you have east or western coyotes, these little, I said, scrubby, unimpressive 20-pound dogs that start appearing in the 1920s. But things don't really take off until the 1960s. And in the 1960s, we start to get a really growing, fast-growing coyote population. Now, who here has seen a coyote? You said you almost stepped on one. Okay. Heard them. These are not 20-pound dogs. These are significantly larger. Record for a male in Ohio is actually 60 pounds. They're typically listed as the females being between 30 and 40-something. 40 is a big female. And males being between like 45, and they listed as 45 to 55, though I'm pretty sure, I would have to go back and double check, pretty sure what I have heard is that the record male in Ohio was 60 pounds. So, how do you get that out of a 20-pound dog?
Mutations.
Even better than that. No. So, up here, and we'll probably watch a movie on this at some point, there were of wolves that were pushed to the edge of extinction and coyotes that were pushed to the edge of extinction. What did we say a species was when they can do what? What? Make babies! Yes, when they can breed and produce fertile offspring. Now, wolves and coyotes are not the same species, are they? Canis lupus, Canis latrans. But here's the thing. They're really closely related. And as it turns out, they were capable of interbreeding. The western coyote is this scrubby little unimpressive 20-pound dog. Timber wolf is an 80 to 90-pound, rather impressive, rather intimidating. It will tear your throat out and take down a deer and a moose and whatever else. They interbred. They've actually traced the genetics back. They know where it happened. They know when it happened. And they can tease out the parts of the genome because we can do DNA analysis now. The western coyote and the timber wolf, the gray wolf, are the parent species of the eastern coyote, which is a different species than a western coyote.
That's scary.
So the coyotes that we have are actually a hybrid. They are called eastern coyotes, but they have a significant portion of wolf DNA along with western coyote DNA. What kind of species tend to be able to take over an unoccupied niche? Closely related ones. Generalists, yes. Generalists number one, but they have a better shot if they're closely related. Because closely related species tend to do similar things. Look at coyotes and wolves. Both predators, yes. Oh, they prey on different sized food. Well, that's not a big deal. Both pretty adaptable, yes. Both live in social family groups, yes. Lots of niche characteristics in common because they are closely related. Okay, so with that, what I'm going to do, I just wanted to talk with you about that a little bit. I'm going to turn you loose on your your study guides, and tomorrow I'll give you about half the period to work on them. Then I'll start